In the world of American intelligence, there was one name whispered more than any other: Ana Montes, the woman many quietly called the Queen of Cuba. And that title wasn't just American slang. Inside Havana's intelligence circles, they used the same name for her. For years, Montes worked deep inside the Defense Intelligence Agency. She rose steadily, becoming the lead expert on Cuba's political and military strategy. From 1985 until 2001, her career looked flawless, polished, disciplined, almost exemplary. But behind that professional image, she was living a second life. Her official work earned her promotions and 10 major awards, including one of the intelligence community's highest honors, the National Intelligence Certificate of Distinction, handed to her in 1997 by then CIA Director George Tenet. Yet the entire time, she was secretly passing sensitive U.S. intelligence straight to Havana. According to FBI agent Peter Lapp, who led the investigation, Montes was already a fully recruited Cuban asset before her first day at the DIA. Every morning, she reminded herself of her mission, the information she believed Cuba needed to shield itself from the United States. Lapp would later call her one of the most damaging spies America has uncovered since the end of World War II. So who was Ana Montes? How did she manage to deceive an entire intelligence community for almost 2 decades? Today, we pull apart that story, piece by piece. Stay with us. This is USMag. Before Ana Montes became one of the most damaging spies in modern U.S. history, she was known for something very different. A model student, disciplined, focused, quietly exceptional. She was born in 1957 on a U.S. military base in Germany, where her Puerto Rican father served as a physician. The family moved often, Kansas, Iowa, eventually settling in Maryland. And there, Ana excelled, graduating high school with top grades. Her worldview shifted years later, during her international relations degree at the University of Virginia. In 1977, a study trip to Spain introduced her to a left-leaning Argentine student. Their conversations, according to friends, challenged her assumptions about American foreign policy, especially U.S. support for authoritarian governments. A former classmate, Ana Colon, recalled how after every protest or political talk, Ana would passionately explain what she believed were U.S. injustices abroad. After graduation, Montes moved to Puerto Rico searching for work. Nothing solid came through. Eventually, she accepted a position at the U.S. Department of Justice in Washington, D.C. While she was working there, she began studying at the Johns Hopkins School of Advanced International Studies. And it was inside those lecture halls that she first landed on the radar of Cuban intelligence. According to FBI investigator Peter Lapp, one of her classmates, Marta Rita Velasquez, recognized something in her. Velasquez, also Puerto Rican, saw how openly Ana criticized U.S. policy in Central America. The two became close, giving Velasquez a window into Ana's job, including her access to sensitive information. A few months later, Marta arranged a quiet introduction, a meeting between Ana and a Cuban diplomat stationed at the United Nations. That meeting was the turning point, the moment the straight-A student began her descent into a secret life, the path that would eventually lead her to become one of Cuba's most valuable intelligence assets. So, why did Ana Montes spy for Cuba? Was it greed? Money? Ideology? The truth is, none of these explanations alone tell the full story. Montes had never seriously imagined becoming a spy, yet at some point, she agreed to work for Cuba. And here's what makes her case extraordinary. She received no payment whatsoever, no salary, no bonuses, no material reward. She risked her career, her freedom, even her life for nothing in return. FBI investigator Peter Lapp later explained, she wasn't paid, and that fact led many to assume ideology drove her actions. She even told us if the Cubans had offered her money, she would have been offended. After her arrest, Montes insisted she acted out of principle, believing that helping Cuba was a moral duty. She claimed she wanted to protect ordinary Cubans from U.S. policies she saw as harmful. When she appeared in court in 2002, she told the judge, "I believe our government's policy toward Cuba is cruel, unjust, and unnecessarily hostile. I felt morally bound to help the island defend itself against our attempts to impose our values and political system. According to intelligence reports, Cuban handlers carefully manipulated her sense of self-importance. They convinced her that Havana urgently needed her help and framed her actions as a form of justice. The CIA later noted, her handlers studied her vulnerabilities and used her beliefs, her personality, and her psychological needs to recruit her and motivate her to work for Havana. But according to Peter Lapp, Montes was not a typical ideological spy. He explained, she was outraged by U.S. actions in El Salvador and Nicaragua and deeply opposed our policy toward Cuba. She wasn't driven purely by left-wing beliefs, she was driven by anger at the United States, more anti-American than pro-Cuba. Lapp added, she despised Reagan's policies, hated what the country was doing at the time, and truly, genuinely hated the United States. Technically, she was an American, but she saw herself as a citizen of the world. Her loyalty wasn't to socialism or Marxism. It was to her opposition to the United States. This is the mindset that shaped one of the most infamous spies in modern American history. In 1985, Ana Montes took her first secret trip to Cuba. It would not be her last. Over the years, she made many more, sometimes even bringing others along. In some cases, the U.S. government unknowingly paid part of the expenses. During the day, she met with officials from the U.S. Interest Section in Havana. At night, she met with her Cuban handlers. Two worlds, two very different responsibilities, yet one person straddling them both. The Cubans encouraged her to join the Defense Intelligence Agency so they could fully benefit from her rising career and the growing access it gave her to sensitive information. Before her arrest, Montes was even poised for a promotion to the National Intelligence Council, an agency that advises the CIA director on critical matters. FBI investigator Peter Lapp described her as an exceptionally talented analyst. Her skills weren't just advancing her career in Washington, they were giving Havana an invaluable advantage. Lapp explained, if she had just gone through the motions, she would never have earned the title Queen of Cuba. The better she performed her official work, the more doors opened, the more access she gained, and the more intelligence she could provide at night. Her day job wasn't just a job, it was the key to everything she did covertly. In Washington by day, in Havana by night, Ana Montes built a career that served two masters and changed the course of modern espionage forever. Ana Montes relied on one of the oldest and safest tools a spy can have, her memory. She would spend hours at her desk, reading and memorizing sensitive information she believed would interest Havana. Later, she would type it at home, transferring it onto floppy disks, which she then sent to Cuba. By doing this, she never had to take a single document from her office, keeping her work completely under the radar. On Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, she tuned in to a shortwave number station. Between 9 and 10 p.m., a voice would recite a sequence of numbers. Attention, attention, 3145. These numbers were meaningless without the special code sheet her Cuban contacts provided. The sheet was designed to dissolve in water, so in an emergency, she could destroy it and erase all evidence. This was how she received instructions. But when it came to handing over the information, she didn't hide. She met her Cuban contact in public, over lunch. Peter Lapp described it simply, she would meet them for lunch and hand over the floppy disks. No secret compartments, no brush passes, no spy gadgets, just a man and a woman meeting in plain sight. Sometimes on Sundays, they would spend hours eating at a Chinese restaurant. For urgent matters, Montes would use public phone booths to reach her contacts' pagers. She had a coded system, one code to signal danger, another to request an immediate meeting. It was a low-tech, human approach, but in the world of espionage, it was devastatingly effective. Ana Montes, the woman known as the Queen of Cuba, left a trail of secrets that shook U.S. intelligence to its core. According to former FBI agent Peter Lapp, everyone she knew, every American working openly or secretly for the U.S. government, had already been identified by Havana. Every U.S. agent operating on Cuban soil was accounted for, before the Americans even knew it. Montes compromised vast amounts of classified information, including sensitive documents from her own computer. She exposed the identities of 4 U.S. intelligence officers operating undercover in Cuba, agents using assumed names to carry out their missions. Lapp believes the greatest loss may have been information about a highly sensitive satellite program tied to the National Reconnaissance Office. It was so secret that the U.S. government could not even mention it in court to prevent its exposure to the public. Montes may also have indirectly contributed to the death of a U.S. Green Beret in El Salvador. While unproven, Lapp says she likely informed the Cubans about his location, mission, and movements with little concern for the consequences. He said, "I can't prove it, but I believe her hands were involved in something deadly." In February 1996, Cuban fighter jets shot down 2 planes belonging to Hermanos al Rescate, humanitarian flights helping Cubans escape the island. 4 people lost their lives. At the time, Montes was part of the U.S. government's response team, yet she continued to meet nightly with her Cuban contacts, briefing them on American operations. Lapp recalls, "The night after returning from the Pentagon, she met with the Cubans and explained our activities. She continued these meetings until the deaths of 4 Americans. She didn't pull the trigger, but she was there with the people who did, and she guided them on what the U.S. response would be. It was chilling." Before her arrest, Montes was on track for a position that could have given her access to U.S. military plans for Afghanistan, potentially allowing Cuba to share intelligence with the Taliban or the Afghan government. Her arrest, accelerated after September 11, 2001, prevented what could have been an even greater disaster. Once in custody on September 21, 2001, Montes negotiated a deal to fully cooperate with investigators, as long as she would not face more than 25 years in prison. Over several months, FBI agents questioned her multiple times a week, piecing together the full scope of her espionage. Even then, Lapp believes Montes may have frustrated Havana by revealing so much. He said, "She admitted her crimes and faced U.S. authorities. I wouldn't be surprised if the Cubans were angry with her." Following her arrest, Lapp conducted 7 months of in-depth interviews with Montes, uncovering the full reach of her work in Havana. This research became the foundation of his book, The Queen of Cuba. After 20 years behind bars, Montes was released on January 7, 2023. She will remain under supervision for 5 years with restricted internet access and is forbidden from working for the government or contacting foreign agents without permission. Ana Montes' story, a tale of loyalty, betrayal, and the devastating consequences of espionage, reminds us how fragile intelligence can be and how much rests on the choices of a single individual. If you found this story fascinating, don't forget to subscribe to USMag for more deep dives into global espionage, history, and intrigue. Hit share, leave your thoughts in the comments, and stay tuned for our next documentary-style episode.